If you dropped Mount Everest into the deepest part of the ocean, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. That is the Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters below the surface, in a place named after the Greek god of the underworld. The pressure down there is over 1,000 times what you feel standing on a beach. It would crush you instantly. The temperature hovers just above freezing. There is no light. There has not been light here for as long as this trench has existed. For centuries, scientists assumed nothing could possibly live in a place this hostile. They were wrong. Very, very wrong. Not only is there life at 11,000 meters, there is a lot of it. What they have found down there has genuinely unsettled the scientific community. Not because the creatures are dangerous, but because they should not exist at all. Everything we thought we knew about the limits of biology, about how deep life can go, about how organisms survive, has been rewritten by what is lurking at the bottom of the ocean. Some of the discoveries are so recent that scientists are still figuring out what they are even looking at. Let's start with the basics of what's actually down there. The Mariana Trench sits in the western Pacific Ocean, east of the Mariana Islands. It's crescent-shaped and stretches 2,550 kilometers long, which makes it 5 times longer than the Grand Canyon. Its deepest point is called the Challenger Deep, and it bottoms out at roughly 10,984 meters. If you could somehow stand at the bottom, you'd have nearly 7 miles of water pressing down on top of you. That's about 8 tons of pressure per square inch. Your body would be compressed into something roughly the size of a soda can. So, not a great vacation spot. Fewer people have been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench than have walked on the surface of the moon. The first time anyone even made it down there was in 1960, when Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh descended in a vessel called the Trieste. They spent about 20 minutes at the bottom, and you know what they saw? A flatfish. Just a regular-looking flatfish chilling on the seafloor at a depth that should have made life impossible. That single sighting changed everything because it proved that vertebrates could survive in the hadal zone. But it took over 50 years before anyone went back. James Cameron made a solo dive in 2012 and described the environment as desolate and alien. Then Victor Vescovo went down in 2019 and made 14 dives in total into the trench. And what Vescovo found during those dives was both incredible and disturbing. He discovered new species of creatures never before seen by science. He also found a plastic bag and candy wrappers at the literal bottom of the planet. But we'll come back to that. What's wild is that before these dives, most scientists figured the deepest parts of the trench would be essentially lifeless. Maybe some bacteria, maybe some single-celled organisms clinging to sediment. But complex life, ecosystems, predators and prey at pressures that would instantly kill every land animal on Earth? No chance. And yet every single expedition that has gone down there has come back with more life than the one before. It's like the trench has been keeping secrets, and it is only now starting to let us in on them. First, let's talk about the creatures, because they're where things get really weird. Meet the hadal snailfish. This translucent, tadpole-shaped little fish is the deepest living vertebrate ever recorded, found at depths exceeding 8,000 meters. It does not look like much. It is about the size of your hand, pale pink or completely colorless, with tiny eyes and loose gelatinous skin that makes it look like someone forgot to finish designing it. But here is what is genuinely unsettling about this fish. It has evolved so specifically for the crushing pressure of the hadal zone that if you bring it to the surface, it does not explode, but it dies almost immediately. Its entire body is built for a world that would kill literally everything else. Scientists sequenced its genome, and what they found was kind of mind-blowing. The gene responsible for hardening bones was broken, deliberately mutated so that the snailfish's skeleton stays soft cartilage instead of rigid bone, because rigid bone would crack and shatter under the pressure. Genes related to vision, most of them are gone. This fish threw away its ability to see color because there is no color to see. It has also lost its circadian rhythm genes, the ones that tell an organism when it is day and night, because at 8,000 meters, there is no day. There has not been day for millions of years. Instead, it developed extra copies of genes that repair DNA damage and stabilize proteins under pressure, essentially rewriting its own biology from the ground up to survive in a place where biology should not work. And the snailfish is not just surviving, it is thriving. It is the top predator in its ecosystem, eating amphipods and smaller creatures along the trench floor. Evolution looked at the most hostile environment on the planet and said, yes, let's put a tiny translucent fish in charge. And the thing is, we only described this species in 2018. It diverged from its closest relative, a shallow water snailfish that lives in tide pools, about 20 million years ago. That means for 20 million years, this fish has been slowly rewriting its own genetic code to move deeper and deeper into the abyss. Scientists estimate that around 8,000 to 8,500 meters is the theoretical maximum depth at which any fish can survive. The snailfish is pushing right up against that limit. Beyond that, the physics of cellular biology just break down entirely. It is living on the absolute razor's edge of what vertebrate life can endure. And get this, in 2023, an even deeper snailfish was filmed at 8,336 meters in the Aizu, Ogasawara Trench near Japan. It has not even been formally described yet. Scientists are calling it the ethereal snailfish because it looked more like a ghost than a fish. We do not know its species. We do not know how it survives that deep. We just have footage of it drifting through the dark, looking like something that should not be real. But the snailfish is a gentle introduction compared to what else is down there. The amphipods of the hadal zone look like someone scaled up a shrimp and then gave it a bad attitude. These crustaceans swarm across the trench floor in massive numbers, and some of them, called supergiant amphipods, can grow longer than a human hand. They are scavengers that can detect a dead animal from miles away. When something dies and sinks down to their level, hundreds of them converge on the carcass in what can only be described as the most disturbing dinner party in the natural world. They have been doing this for tens of millions of years. And here is the part that makes scientists uncomfortable. When researchers examined amphipods from 6 different trenches across the Pacific, over 72% of them had microplastic in their guts. The deepest ones, from almost 11,000 meters, averaged over 3 pieces of plastic per individual. We had not even known these creatures existed until recently, and they are already eating our garbage. In 2025, a major expedition using the Chinese submersible Fenduja made 23 dives into the Mariana Trench and found something that rewrote what we thought was possible at these depths. They discovered massive colonies of tube worms and bivalve mollusks, stretching from around 2,500 meters all the way down to 9,533 meters. Thousands of organisms were clustered together around chemical seeps on the trench walls. These are not random stragglers. These are full-blown thriving communities, the deepest chemosynthesis-based ecosystems ever found on Earth. They do not use sunlight. They do not eat marine snow. They feed on chemicals seeping from the Earth's crust itself, hydrogen sulfide and methane, converting poison into energy through a process that has nothing to do with the sun. These organisms essentially run on geology. They have built entire cities powered by the planet's internal chemistry, and they have been doing it in total darkness at pressures that would flatten a submarine. The researchers who published these findings said that, given how many similar trenches exist across the world's oceans, these communities might be far more widespread than anyone anticipated. In other words, the bottom of the ocean might not be the barren wasteland we always assumed. It might be covered in life that we just have not looked hard enough to find. And then there's the microbial world, which is where things get truly existential. In 2021 and the years following, a massive research project called MIR collected over 1,600 sediment samples from the Mariana Trench. When they sequenced the DNA, they identified over 7,500 microbial species. Nearly 90% of them had never been reported before. These aren't just new species. These are organisms so different from anything in existing databases that scientists had to create entirely new categories just to classify them. Some of these microbes have metabolisms that we don't fully understand. They consume chemicals and produce energy in ways that don't match any known biological process on the surface. A few of them have been living in these sediments for hundreds of millions of years, evolving in total isolation from the rest of life on Earth. They are, in the most literal sense, alien life forms that happen to live on our own planet. And that's exactly why some scientists are so disturbed by these findings. Because if life can adapt to the crushing pressure, the freezing temperatures, the total absence of light, and the chemical hostility of the Mariana Trench, then the argument that life cannot exist on other worlds starts to collapse. Jupiter's moon. Europa has a subsurface ocean covered in ice. Saturn's moon Enceladus shoots plumes of water into space from an ocean beneath its frozen crust. Both of these moons have hydrothermal activity. Both have chemistry, and both have pressure and darkness. Sound familiar? The hadal zone is basically a rehearsal for extraterrestrial life. And we just proved that the rehearsal is full of organisms we did not even know existed. But here's the thing that probably should scare us the most. It's not the creatures. It is what we are doing to them before we even get a chance to understand them. Remember the plastic bag Vescovo found at the bottom of the Challenger Deep? That was not an isolated incident. Studies have found up to 2,000 pieces of microplastic per liter of water in certain parts of the trench. The hadal zone might actually be one of the largest microplastic sinks on the planet, because ocean currents funnel debris downward into these trenches like a drain. The plastic does not break down. It just accumulates. And the organisms that live there, organisms that evolved over millions of years in one of the most pristine environments on Earth, are now eating it. We contaminated the deepest, most remote place on the planet before we even finished exploring it. Scientists have also found elevated levels of chemical pollutants in the trench, with some areas matching the pollution levels of heavily industrialized rivers in China, even at nearly 11,000 meters below the surface, in a place where until recently, we did not think anything lived. The trench acts like a funnel. Deep sea currents sweep debris off the ocean floor and channel it downward into the trenches, where it collects and concentrates. So the deepest places on Earth are not just contaminated. They might be among the most contaminated places in the entire ocean, precisely because everything sinks there and nothing leaves. And that is really the crux of why scientists are terrified. It is not just one thing, it is the combination. We discovered that the deepest ocean is teeming with life we never expected. We found that this life has evolved in ways that challenge our fundamental understanding of biology. We realized these ecosystems could hold clues to life on other worlds. And then we found out that we have already started destroying them with plastic and pollution before we have even finished counting how many species are down there. we have explored less than 5% of the deep ocean. The Mariana Trench alone is larger than most countries. Every expedition to the bottom brings back species unknown to science, organisms with metabolisms we cannot explain, and genetic adaptations that rewrite what we thought was possible. For every creature we have cataloged, there could be dozens more that we have never seen. Some scientists estimate that the hadal zone might contain more undiscovered species than any other environment on Earth. So what else is down there at 11,000 meters? Honestly, we barely know. And that might be the most terrifying part of all. The deepest place on the planet, a place we named after the underworld, is alive. It has been alive for hundreds of millions of years, and it has been waiting in the dark this whole time for us to finally look. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos just like this one. If you want to watch another video of mine, check out the one on your screen right now.